You're listening to On Air with Ruben Jay. It's Ruben Jay here, and I have the esteemed honor of presenting to you my conversation with a rock legend, Myles Kennedy. Myles is a lead singer of a band called Alter Bridge, as well as doing lead vocals on Slash's project, Slash featuring Myles Kennedy and The Conspirators. Myles' new record, The Ides of March, came out in May of 2021, and it is an incredible record from start to finish, including a 7.5-minute epic song, which also happens to be the title track of the record, The Ides of March. I wrote an article a while back. You can find that link in the description of this podcast, of this YouTube video, where I said that the song was a Grammy-worthy song, and I discussed that with Myles and what the Grammys mean to songwriters alike and whether he would like to get a Grammy. We also discussed writing songs during the lockdowns of 2020, and we discussed specific songs and off the record, as well as future plans for Myles come 2022 with Alter Bridge and Slash. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Myles Kennedy. Myles, how you doing?
Good, Ruben. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Let's just jump right into this. Ides of March has been out for a little while. The song, The Ides of March, is probably an epic song, one of which we probably haven't heard in a long time. When I wrote an article when the song came out, and when I published it, I said that The Ides of March was Grammy worthy and a song that I believe should not only win a Grammy, but if it didn't win a Grammy, would show where the Grammys has failed. And you and your team were gracious enough to share that article. Many of your fans actually said that you winning a Grammy, that you were too good for the Grammys. This song was too good for the Grammys. So I just want to ask this question right out the bat. If the Ides of March were nominated for a Grammy, would you be honored? What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think your chances of being nominated for one of those, for a Grammy, would be?
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I'm beyond flattered to hear that you feel that way. That means a lot. Oh, sure. I mean, I think any artist would love to know that something that they were a part of was recognized by the Grammys. But with that said, I don't know. I mean, that just seems so far removed at this point. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and nothing I've ever been a part of has been accepted in that world. So I guess I've just kind of shut that out of my psyche and just kind of, if it happened, great. But I guess at this point in my career, I don't have any any high hopes, in that sense.
Oh, no worries. Well, I think it'd be an epic honor for you, and that song, I think, it deserves that and so much more recognition. Follow up on that song, because the song, I do feel like it's an epic song, one that's not really, songs that really go over 5 minutes really aren't generally out there. Did you feel like when you put the song on the record, did you feel like it was a risky thing for you to do, or do you kind of treat your solo projects kind of as a safe place for experimenting with different sounds first and foremost, and different lengths of songs?
Yeah, that's the fun thing about having the solo outlet, is that you can experiment and you can stretch out and try things that you normally wouldn't have the opportunity to do. And with the other projects that I play with, we have an established sound and a kind of our fan base expects a certain thing. And I guess that when you have the ability, or the time, I should say, to go out and make solo records or whatever you're doing, that's an offshoot. I feel like that's the time to really take advantage of, you kind of have a fresh slate, in the sense that, people, and they might know you from something else, and they might have certain expectations. But as an artist, what you learn is you need to, when you have a quote unquote solo project, you're making the record for you ultimately. And so that is something that I knew right from the beginning with Year of the Tiger. back in 2017, 2018, I really wanted to make sure that anything I did in this realm was that opportunity to explore and hopefully grow. And then going back to the other projects, maybe you kind of evolve to some degree, and you can bring that back into the other realm as a stronger songwriter and a better artist.
The new record, Ides of March, is out now, and he's getting ready to go on tour. I'm talking to Myles Kennedy. With this record, I felt like the label got so much more behind you. I saw every time I'd log on to social media, I'd see 3 or 4 different ads for the new album, pushing the new singles as they came out. Do you feel like the label was more supportive of the second record versus the first one? And what do you think that may have what do you think may have contributed to that?
Yeah, I felt not just with the label, I felt like the whole team did a really great job, especially considering the state of things when the record was released. These are unique times, and they found ways to get the word out that this little artist from Spokane, Washington was putting a record out. So, that's to put out enough records at this point where you can definitely feel when your team is firing on all cylinders, and they did a wonderful job.
The song "Wake Me When It's Over" has really resonated with me. I told a friend of mine, I said, this song really sums up the year 2020 for me. What inspired you to write this song? And I feel like this is probably one of the more upbeat songs on this record, considering the theme of what kind of feels like the record. So "Wake Me Whenever," tell me a little bit about that song and the origin story behind it.
Yeah, that song was written one night. I was just sitting there watching TV, had an acoustic guitar in my hand, and I think that I might have had a drink or two at that point. I'm not a big drinker, but during the pandemic, I think a lot of us were just out of boredom or whatever, trying to, just kind of medicate or, self-medicate. I guess, I was drinking just a little bit, not too much, and I started playing that chord progression, and it just kind of happened. It was a pretty fast process, and it makes me happy to hear that people are gravitating towards that song, because it's definitely I don't know. It's just it's a fun tune in the sense that it's kind of asking if the whole world's going to hell, at least I'm going to have fun doing it, and I think that people can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, the line that resonates with me the most is kind of the final. I don't know if it's a verse, but basically says, want to lay you down in a pretty gown. We got nothing left to lose. It all burns down. At least I'll die with you. Then it scripts down to the next. So take me now. It's over. I'm afraid we reached the end. It might save me when it's over to know I died with my best friend. And that line resonates with me is because, I was doing a podcast all through 2020 with one of my closest friends. And I at one point told her, I said, listen, if it wasn't for this podcast, and doing this with my friend, I don't think I would have survived this year. So thank you for putting that song out, and writing that. You've announced some tour dates, nothing out here in LA just yet. I'm waiting for that. What are you hoping that people get out of your shows? And is there any pressure for you knowing that especially these first handful of shows, are going to be the first shows that many people are going to for the first time in well over a year? Is there any pressure on that?
Yeah, there's a certain expectation, I guess. And interestingly enough, I did 2 shows, one in Kansas City and one in Lincoln, in Nebraska. And this was a few weeks ago, probably 2 weeks ago, and I just showed up with an acoustic guitar at those 2. They were just very intimate affairs. And it was really, really an amazing experience for me, because I didn't know what to expect. And because it had been so long. And the minute I stepped out on stage, the audience was just they were just incredible. I mean, they were just, you could feel that people were so happy to be back in a room together, enjoying music with like-minded individuals. And that was something that really made me feel confident that as we continue to move forward, things are going to be all right. And my spirit needed that, and I felt like everybody in the room needed that as well. Not just the musical part, but just the idea that we're all coming together for kind of a common cause. It's that fellowship of music that I believe in so much.
Awesome. And are there any songs off the new record that you're really looking forward to playing?
Well, I'm looking forward to attempting Ides of March. I didn't play that song in the acoustic realm because I really wanted to have the band to debut that. So I'm excited about that. That should be fun. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm sure we'll be able to pull it off. I think with enough rehearsing, that is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an epic song, and hopefully you play it if and when an LA show happens. I think you need to add your cover of "Leave On" to the mix. That's one of my favorite covers that you do.
Oh, cool! Thank you. I love that's. Look, Elton and Bernie, they knew how to write a song, right? So, or know how to write a song. So, yeah, I would love to put that back in the set. That's the classic.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear it live. Real quick, I know we're running short here on time, but looking forward, Mark Tremonti has a solo record coming out in the fall. There's been a lot of rumors of a new Slash record. Obviously, I'm assuming the rest of 2021 is going to be focused on supporting the Ides of March. What does 2022 look like for Myles Kennedy and the gangs?
Well, it's a good question. Hopefully there'll be more new music. We'll see how it all plays out, but there's certainly discussions about, Alter Bridge, trying to get something in the can for next year at some point. And with Slash and the Conspirators, we've got lots of new songs waiting in the wings. So yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to have a lot of songs in 2022.
Awesome. Do you have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay. So, Walk the Sky, the last Alter Bridge record that came out. Unfortunately, the tour got kind of abruptly canceled. Luckily for me, that was actually the last show that I went to, was the LA show at the Wiltern. And do you feel like there's unfinished business there with Walk the Sky? And how do you think the Alter Bridge camp should maybe address that? Because I feel like a lot of fans feel like that's a record that is going to have an asterisk next to it, in years to come. Just because I feel like a lot of us who didn't get to go to the shows didn't feel like there was a completion to that album cycle.
Yeah, that was a real bummer. I mean, we got through. I think we did a tour in Europe and the UK, and we did a tour of the States. I think that was about it. Maybe a couple tours in the States. So yeah, we felt like that one kind of got cut short. Unfortunately, the thing with album cycles is they do tend to have a shelf life, and I think where the record was put out, coming up, we're coming up on 2 years. So to try and kind of jump back into it at this point might be a bit of a challenge, especially considering how much new music is going to be coming out with so many different artists and people. There's going to be just an onslaught of record releases, I believe, in the next year. So I think that we're just, like you said, it'll be one of those records where there's kind of this asterisk next to it. It came out, it had a brief window, and fortunately our team, management, promotional team, label, and everybody did such a great job getting the word out as that record was released. So at least people knew a record came out, and that's half the battle right there. Mm-hmm. If you can't do the entire tour cycle behind it, it's a total drag, but at least you kind of, you help to keep the brand going. People have such a short attention span nowadays that we hadn't released that record, and let's say we'd waited, I guess it would be a total of like 5 or 6 years from the last Hero to when we hopefully release our next one. That's too long. So just the fact that we're able to get a record out is I think good enough. at this point.
Yeah, well, I will always be able to remember that the last show that I went to live was the Walk the Sky tour in Los Angeles. It's a special memory for me. Myles, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. The Ides of March is out now. You can download it to everywhere music is available. Go to MylesKennedy.com for tour dates and information. Myles, best of luck to you, man. I hope that you have fun playing this record, and hopefully the fans really have a great time listening to you play this record out. And I really appreciate all that you're doing.
Oh, man, I appreciate your time as well. Great questions, brother.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. That was my chat with Myles Kennedy. You can go to MylesKennedy.com for more information on the Ides of March, the record, as well as the Ides of March tour, which Myles is kicking off, actually just kicked off not too long ago. Also, he released a live video of him performing Moonshot off the record from the Fox Theater over on his YouTube channel. The link for that video will also be in the description down below. Make sure to go and download the Ides of March now, and again, visit MylesKennedy.com for merch, tour dates, and more information on where you can get the record. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at @TheRubenJ, the same on Twitter. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Ruben J Tonight. And I will see you guys next time here on air with Ruben J.